In this video, I'm going to show you how to easily access high-resolution historical satellite imagery in Jupyter Notebook just with a couple lines code. This is what we're going to create, and it's kind of a split map with a slider in the center, allows you to swipe left and right. And this is an area showing you Las Vegas. As you can see, the new buildings, new residential area. Upper left corner here, there's a date picker, allows you to pick a date. Also in the upper right corner, you have the same thing. So I can change it to any date that you want. For example, I can change to maybe 2021. You can select any date that you like. It's going to update. So right now you can see this is what we have in 2021 compared to 2025. So you will be able to look at any location around the globe, and you can use this one to actually visualize the data, visualize changes. The nice thing about like within the Python environment is that it allows you to overlay on other GS data layers. So it's not just for visualization, you can overlay other imagery, other vector data on top of that. So it's very powerful. So you can combine multiple data sources together within a single interface. And we're going to show you step by step how to create this one easily so that you can visualize the data for any location around the globe. So where do this imagery come from? So in terms of high resolution historical satellite imagery, there are primarily two sources. One is the Google Earth, right? Google Earth also has the time lapse. You can just, if you have ever used it, the Google Earth Pro or the Google Earth web version. So they basically have the time lapse. If I've never used it, I can show you here Google Earth, and you can probably just go to the web version. It allows you to see the time lapse for any location, but the limitation is that it's only limited to the browser, so you cannot actually combine with other data layer, especially if you're doing Python programming. You will not be able to do that. So same thing here, I can go to the maybe Las Vegas, so you can see here, right? These are all high resolution satellite imagery that Google purchased from Maxar and some other companies. And if you click, I think here, this is the button says show historical imagery. Click this button, then you're going to have this slider here from the left to the right. So starting from 1985, those are usually satellite imagery, so it's pretty close resolution. You cannot really see anything. Mostly after, I think, starting maybe 2010, right? So we're starting having those high resolution imagery. Of course, nowadays we have a lot more because the technology advanced so much. So now you can see some of these things in here. Like I said, this is nice if you just want to see it, but it cannot overlap with other GS data layers like within a Python environment. And Google Earth doesn't expose the API, so there's no way for us actually to see the imagery. The Google Sensing API, the tile layer, you can only get the latest one, right? If you want to see the historical, you cannot do that. There's another source, is the Esri Imagery Wayback. So this is actually the one that we're going to use. They have all of this, I mean, starting from 2014. So the earliest date that they have is 2014. And then after that, you can see every couple months or year or two, they have updated global imagery. So it allows you to actually see any location. Also, they have the kind of the web services that allows you to add that one to other desktop or Python client, and this is what we're going to utilize. But I'm going to just briefly show you how to use it. You can zoom to any location around the globe, and then you will be able to see what kind of imagery available. So on the left side here, you see this available date, right? So if you hover your mouse, and then in the center here, it will show you basically the thumbnail, the preview of the imagery. Of course, you're welcome to click that. Then you're going to switch to that particular date, right? So if this is just, you want to see just one time period, this is how you do it. Also, there's a kind of a similar slider here. Basically, it allows you to swipe compare to data layers. So if I click this one, then on the right, it's also going to show you a date. So for example, on the left side, I'm going to select 2014. On the right, I'm going to select maybe 2024. Right, so this is like 10 years difference, and then you will be able to see the changes. You can swipe maybe some other location here. This is maybe already very developed. You might not see too much changes, but I can maybe do the same thing like Las Vegas. Right, I can search the location, then you're going to fly to the location, and just like what I showed you earlier, you can see the development. For example, Las Vegas is very famous. So right, so over here in this area is all kind of just the desert. It has been transformed into buildings and residential area. Like I said, it's great, but how do we combine other data layer? This is just for visualization. You cannot really use that. So I'm going to show you how to use a leaf map. I just added the functionality. So if you want to follow through, go to the leaf map website, and then on the left side, click Map Library. Scroll down to find historical imagery. So if you click the link, you can also find the link in the video description below. Once you're here, you can either run this one using Google Colab. So just right click, open this one in Google Colab, log into your Google account. Then you can uncomment this line of code and then just execute. You will to one step by step to access the historical imagery. Another way is to download this one to a computer, and then but you need to install Jupyter Notebook. So I'm going to show you here. I've already installed, and I'm going to show you from the very beginning how we're going to get started. So actually it's very simple. There's only just a couple lines code. And first you need to import the map library backend, right? After you import, then you can add the historical imagery by calling this function m.add wayback layer. Then you specify the date. First, you need to create an interactive map, right? And then, so here we're going to add 2 layers. So the wayback layer basically means that what day of the imagery you want to have. As I mentioned earlier, the earliest date that they have for this kind of high resolution imagery is 2014. So this is actually the first day is available, and this is the latest day available, roughly 11.5 years. And like I said, very simple. Just run this code block. You're able to actually create a map and then show you 2 data layer. So here in the upper left corner, this is where this button, this is the new floating sidebar, and allows you to basically control the data layer. As you can see, we have the wayback layer, right? 2014 is here, and then we have 2025. So for this one, allows you to just change the opacity. Just use the slider to change the opacity, then you can compare, right? So this is kind of a new area. In 2014, it's all just deserts, right? So especially, for example, in this area, now in 2025, 11 years later, you see it's much more developed. So it expands. So this is the very famous Las Vegas urban growth, right? So you can see very clearly how they actually, the area expand into the desert, and then with all the new buildings, new roads and infrastructure, everything. Like I said, you can use it to explore any location around the globe. And also for the map here is actually 3D map. So if you click the button here, upper right corner, you can read it at the globe, right? So it's pretty cool. So you can see any location that you want. For example, I can look at Salt Lake, right? So this is just one location, and this is what it looks like in 2025. If you look at 2014, 10 years, 11 years earlier, look at the lake. It was so much larger. If you look at like in the 1980s, but we don't have high resolution satellite imagery, we only have access to Landsat back to 1980s. So, but those are 30 meter resolution. For large water bodies, you can actually see the changes, but for smaller like buildings, other types, it's very difficult. So we certainly need high resolution, and this is what this one is about. Like I said, you can change the slider and then change it to anywhere you like. One thing I want to point out here is for the date, you can choose any date you want, right? Like I said, from 2014, after 2014, so I can change it maybe to 2020, for example, and then run again. So for that particular date, if it is not available, it's going to show you that date is not available. So for this one, it looks like it's available. So that's why you can see here. So it's still, 2020 is still like just the data. It's not no buildings yet. So I guess maybe let's try 2022. Again, so right now, February 20, 2022, it says the imagery is not available. We're going to use the closest date is February 24. And that's a good thing. It's going to tell you the date. And see, so now you can clearly see that after 2022, that's kind of after the pandemic. the area already started the construction. So probably maybe a year or two later, this should be more. So I'm going to check 2023. Again, the date is not available. It's going to find the latest date. And so let's take a look. You see? So it's, you can clearly use this historical imagery to assess kind of the evolution of the landscape when something happens, right? Although it's only 10 years, but it's very high resolution. So we can use to identify any location that you want. Like I said, zoom to any location around the globe you want, and then you can start explore them within a Jupyter Notebook environment with very simple, just a couple lines code, create a map, and then just add Wayback layer, specify the date, and that's all. So this is the first way to visualize the historical imagery. The second way is using a time slider. So very much similar to what we did earlier. We're going to create a map and then show the sidebar, but we're going to use a Wayback Time Slider, different from the Wayback layer. So the time slider means you're going to add all the data layers together. Also the default index to -1, that means we're going to show the latest imagery. Otherwise, you're going to show the first year, 2014. And the beauty about utilizing this in Jupyter Notebook is that allows you to combine with other data layer. So for here, I'm going to add also the overture 3D map, and this one, see what happens. So it's going to create the same map, looks like this. Upper left corner here, you will see this time slider, right? So there's a play button here and also the pause button. So this is showing you the imagery just for one particular imagery, but we add the 3D buildings. So take a look. These are actually the 3D buildings on top of the data. You can clearly see that not all the buildings have been delineated yet. So this one is from the overture maps, building global building footprint. But you get the idea. These are more like earlier years, so it's already there. So if you zoom in, right, you can press Control on your keyboard. You can shift things around. You can see the buildings on top of that. Like I said, this is global, so you can do it for anywhere. Now, let me show you how to utilize this time slider. So let me turn off the building layer. We don't really need it, but I'm going to show you like how to use it. So I can slide the slider to the left side. It's going to start from 2014, right? And then you can slide it through. So I think in total there are almost, I think, over 180 time periods. So there are lots of actually dates available, but you just can slide through. You can see the date, right? So similar to what we did earlier. Now, you know, like in 2019, it started kind of the construction, and then maybe 2020 during the pandemic, and then even more, right? So you can clearly see how things develop using this kind of high resolution. So it's like 15 centimeter or even a couple centimeters. So it's very, very powerful, and you can use this one to just monitor the environment, how they change across the years. Also, you can do it like this. You can so here, you can just click this play button. So each time when you are shifting, it's actually going to remove the layer and add a new data layer. So that's why you don't want to show this layer button, because otherwise the layer will be kind of flickering effect. So if you click this one, you see the layer has been removed, and then re-add it. If you minimize it, it's not going to show you anything. So this basically allows you to quickly see how they changes throughout the years. And because it's very high temporal frequency, pretty much every month you have one imagery, and it's very, very dense. So you don't really want that. You can just pause it and then move it to maybe a later day, right? So you can see, especially when there's like active development, you might want to see the changes. So you're basically going to flip through and clearly see, right, in 2023, February, you're going to see all the data like that. So very, very cool. Like I said, you can turn on the building data layer if you want to, right? So this is going to show you, and this is the power. It can be any data layer. It can be raster data layer. It can be vector data layer. So you can combine any data that you like, overlay on top of the data imagery. So this is how you use that. Pretty much just one line of code. Add Wayback Time Slider, that's it. And so by default, we're going to load the latest one, but I can also default if equal to 0. Then it's just going to show you imagery for 2014, right? So right here, we don't really have any buildings in this all the deserts, right? So this is the second way. Lastly, I'm going to show you another way. Earlier, we used a map library. So it's like kind of you can see the 3D globe, but because it's based on the JavaScript library, we cannot really add a kind of a, I mean, you can, but I haven't have this one developed, integrate into the package yet. So I'm going to use, actually use leaf map, the IPy leaf map backend. So here, I basically import the leaf map library, and then very much similar when you want to create the map. And so instead of the time slider, this one is called add wayback layers. And so let's execute it. This is the one I showed you at the beginning. So this one is, if you really want the slider effect to swipe through different years, you might want to use this one. So you're gonna have two data picker, one from on the left side, one on the right side, upper right corner here, and you can change to any date you want. Like I said, I'm gonna switch, right? So you can do, I know in this area roughly around maybe 2020 and December, and you can select whatever date. Okay, so you can see it's started the new construction in 2021. And so the imagery also has multi-resolution. When you zoom in and zoom out, it's going to look different. When you zoom out, it's probably just using the Landsat satellite data. So this is probably right now we are looking at is Landsat. When you zoom in more, it's going to start showing you the high resolution commercial satellite imagery after like 2014. So this is very high resolution, very powerful. So you can see any individual buildings. On the right, you can do the same thing. So if you don't want the latest year, I can change it maybe to 2014 January, and then just select a date. You will see this one is being updated. So it's kind of real time, very powerful. Like I said, you can add other data layer as well. You can blow other layer on top of this one if you want to. So this is the power of using Python to access the data programmatically rather than just using Google Earth or using Esri, the web portal. You cannot really, it's just for viewing. It doesn't allow you to integrate with other GS data layers. Okay, this is all I want to show you. I hope you find it useful. It's very powerful. And this is something that I wanted for a while. And finally, I figured out a way to actually add it to the package. And so now you can use one-line report to access the historical imagery. And this is for educational purpose only. Thanks to Esri for providing this imagery and also the web services. I hope you find it useful. I'll see you in the next one.